one view 2 minutes ago. Goodbye.
Now it should be up there.
I don't know, sir. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Now my awesome chat is gone. You ruined it.
I am so very, very sorry. My condolences.
I worked hard on that. That was a piece of poetic, like, a genius.
Nice.
I had yoo-hoo in it. I used yoo-hoo. But it probably should have been woohoo. Damn. I take it back. It was half poetic genius. Oh, man. Cat's out of the bag. Bucks.
Nice. I have too much stuff on my desk and like the microphone's in the way because I can't have stuff where it usually is.
Oh, that's a hard knock life. Oh,
I can't spell.
It's a hard knock life.
Okay.
It's a hard knock life.
All right, now I think we're ready to start recording, right?
Yep, I just got the pinned message. I assume it's pinned.
I don't think it can be pinned. It just highlights it.
That's okay. Yep, I see it. We are good to
Oh,
go.
yeah, you can pin it. There it is. There we go. Message pinned.
There it is.
Okay. I'm going to stop the recording and start it over because I don't want to try to edit through 7 minutes of stuff.
Have me sing.
Oh, and we lost Steve. Hey, he's back. It's
Whoa, that was weird.
so annoying that it does that.
I was watching this stream, and when you reset it, you were in both cameras. Like you were talking to yourself, and it was phenomenal.
Nice. I'm magic.
Amazing.
All right. Let me pull up my notes here.
Okay.
Did you want to introduce or did you want me to?
I could introduce
Okay.
once you hit record.
Yep.
Oh, I like your little chapter headlines.
Well, thanks.
Did you do that this week?
Yes.
It looks very nice. Very professional.
Well, I figured we wander so much on topic that it would help people out.
There you go. Well. I guess I'm ready to go when you are.
Okay.
Welcome to Views from the World Tree. On this week's show, we're putting the banter aside somewhat and taking an objective and educational approach to learning about firearms and firearm safety. And now, on with the show.
All right. So for my news update this week on what I've been reading, I have been having some major ADHD with my reading lately, and I have started yet another new book. This one I actually can kind of blame you for. I was browsing the Solarpunk subreddit, and somebody had specifically asked for book recommendations, so I was reading through the comments there, and there was one that sounded interesting to me. I think it might be a trilogy. I just decided to try the first one. It's called Oryx and Crake, and it focuses on a character called Snowman, who lives in a post-apocalyptic world near a small group of primitive human-like creatures that he calls Crakers. Apparently, Crake was the main character's friend. He was a scientist, and there was some type of genetic engineering that resulted in the creation of this subspecies. So he feels kind of responsible for helping them. And so this is just kind of the synopsis from the first page, but the story is told over a series of flashbacks that reveal that this guy named Snowman was once a boy named Jimmy who grew up in this world that was dominated by big corporations that built these different walled compounds to isolate different classes of society, and to protect their employees, so they could keep making them wealthy. And eventually some of the companies that had developed advanced medical treatments and genetically engineered animals, something happened, we don't know what yet, and all of these fancy compounds are just decaying ruins now. So I'm only I said it was because of reading ADHD, and I'm only I don't know, 20 pages in. so far it seems good though.
It sounds interesting. I'm excited to hear your thoughts after you complete it. I haven't heard about this one.
Yeah, I had never heard of the series or the author, but it's also kind of a new genre for me. So,
Yeah.
And then for what I've been watching, there was actually a meme that someone had posted on Facebook or Instagram about how now is a really good time to be a fantasy reader because all of these fantasy series are being made into shows, and it had Lord of the Rings with the movies, and then the new Rings of Power, and I don't know, a couple others, and then there was this one called Shadow and Bone, which I had seen on Netflix but never actually watched, so I decided to take a look at this one. I haven't decided yet if I like it. My wife likes it. It's a little bit more on the YA, on the young adult side, and she really likes those stories, so she really enjoys it, and I'm still undecided.
There you go. Yeah, I haven't watched this one yet. Audible Plus did have it as a Plus member book, so with your Audible account you can get certain books for free. And so I listened to it one night when I was playing Football Manager, at least a third of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's decent, but I wasn't giving it my undivided attention because I was doing something else. I just needed something to keep my mind from wandering, type of thing. So, I don't know. The story seemed interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to bash on it. It's good enough. It's kind of got really similar story elements to a lot of similar books and things. So, but yeah, it's decent. So we'll see how it goes.
Young adult doesn't bother me because my favorite, all-time favorite book series is Ranger's Apprentice, and I'm still waiting for that to come out as a TV show or a movie.
Well, maybe. Seems to be the thing these days.
Yeah.
And then as far as like a personal news update, just been working a lot on my yard and garden. I've been dealing with heat waves and all kinds of other stuff. So, but it's finally getting to a place where I think I'm content for now. When we bought this place a little over a year ago, definitely had some stuff to fix up as far as the yard goes. We did unfortunately lose one of our big birch trees, but there was nothing we could have done by the time we moved in. But like the lawn is all fixed, all the dead spots are gone. Most of the bare spots have patched and the lawn has taken hold. I've also replaced all of the sprinkler heads that were having issues, so I have good coverage of of everything. Shouldn't have to spot water anymore, and the ground is mostly leveled. Also, my vegetable garden, it's about half the size that we wanted to do this year, just because we ran out of time. But it's producing really well. We're harvesting vegetables probably 2 or 3 times a week. We'll kind of my morning routine is I'll go out with the dogs while I walk around, take them to the bathroom, have my morning cup of joe, and just peek at the garden. And usually 2 to 3 times a week, I come back inside with a couple zucchinis, handful of tomatoes, some cucumbers. So it's doing really well.
Nice. I'm a little bit jealous. I got my garden in so late in the season that it was just starting to produce when we had a massive windstorm and like squall-like weather. So my tomato plants were blown over and uprooted, and the only thing that survived was half a potato plant. So I'm waiting for that to go to flower so that I can dig up the tubers and hopefully get a little bit. The soil in the planting box is really, really shallow, so I don't expect anything bigger than like about the size of fingerling potatoes, but those make really good French fries anyway, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, they're tasty. Excuse me. Maybe you'll have to come help me harvest my tomatoes once they all ripen, because our tomato plants we have 2 that are over 6 feet tall now.
Holy cow.
So they kind of exploded.
That sounds awesome. Amazon used to have a show from Ireland called Eat, Grow, Cook, I think it was called.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a gardener who worked with a chef who ran a garden outside of his restaurant. And they kind of talked about how to plant, how to prune, how to take care of all these different vegetables. And then they would cook something at the end of the show from the garden, fresh from the garden. Probably the best show that I've ever seen. I don't know if it's still there, but
nice.
Your 6 foot tall tomatoes kind of reminded me of that, because they had the garden wire from the planter box to the top of the greenhouse.
Oh yeah.
To run the vines up, and then he would groom the vines so that it would make a curve, a turn, and keep going horizontally out that way. It was kind of cool.
Oh, nice. Yeah, ours are definitely not that fancy. I ended up having to make a little bit of an arch, and then we just have some parachute cord that are tying the plants up to the top of the arch to keep them from falling over.
There you go.
So, yeah, it works.
Yeah, I probably should have done that before the weather came in and destroyed all mine.
Yeah, it's all right.
Well, hindsight's 20/20.
Anyway, that was it for me.
Nice. Kind of like you, as far as reading, I went through a little bit of reading ADD as well. I picked up Night Watch, which we talked about last week. Read the first chapter of that and went, yeah, I remember this book. It was good. Put it back on my shelf. I picked up Creative Capitalism, read the first lecture from that, which was one by Bill Gates. Went, that's interesting. Put it back on my shelf. Grabbed Undaunted Courage, the Meriwether Lewis biography, read the first chapter of that, and went, interesting. And then I finally grabbed, I was on Twitter the other day, and one of the guys that I follow, he's a teacher, he said that he was talking about this scene in this book that I had never heard of before, where a terrorist was talking to a UN minister who was in charge of like protecting the environment from, or reversing environmental damage so that future generations could survive.
Mm-hmm.
I went, ooh, that sounds fascinating. Picked it up, and I am now 26 chapters into it in one day. So, anyway, the book is called The Ministry for the Future. It's by Kim Stanley Robinson, if you're interested.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It sounds like right up your alley, if I'm being honest. So, not shocked in the least.
Have you read any books by Kim Stanley Robinson by chance?
If I have, I don't recognize the name.
Okay. He's an American author, I assume of Korean descent, with Kim being one of his names.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I could be reaching there. Maybe it's a boy named Sue type of situation where his dad just called him Kim. Sorry. I no offense. Bad joke. The first book of his that I picked up was called The Years of Rice and Sand, and it was two entities that basically lived in an alternate history where the Black Plague took out all of Europe, or 3/4 of Europe, instead of just 1/4 of the European population.
Interesting.
And the Chinese and Middle East ended up being the two powerhouses in the world. So China discovered America. There was still Native Americans in the Americas that were able to develop a westernized culture following their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just really interesting, and it was told through the story of two souls that were reincarnated, kept going through, so they kept living their lives through different points in history. So that's the first one that I ever read. I think his most famous is the Green Mars, or the Mars trilogy, all about the terraforming of Mars. So, kind of a quasi-political sci-fi writer.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying this one. It was written 2 years ago, and it's just fascinating. Inactivity of governments and terrorist cells saying, if you're not going to do anything, we'll do something. And so it's just kind of cool.
Yeah.
As far as watching, nothing. I lead a very boring life since I went back to school and started this new job. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
My wife and I watched a romantic comedy that I couldn't even tell you what the name of it was on Saturday. We watched some rom-com that took place in Italy. Yeah.
Sounds uneventful.
It was okay. It was loosely based on Romeo and Juliet, and it was not that great. Granted.
Yeah.
My personal feelings is that's not the greatest play that Shakespeare did. So.
Oh, definitely not.
You know, it's the most well known because everybody has to read it, but it's definitely not the best.
Sure. Yeah.
And then personal news or other news, a little bit of a celebration. This podcast is officially a year old as of last week. We missed it, but we'll share it this week. So that was kind of cool when I realized that. And like you, we are in a heat wave. We hit almost 100 degrees today in the Colorado Front Range. And unfortunately, my AC compressor went out, so we have been sitting here trying to use fans
Oof.
instead of air conditioning. And
Brutal.
that is really hard. Yeah. So, not all that exciting, or exciting, depending on how you see it.
Yeah. Well, I don't envy you. So.
It's all right. I'm going up to the mountains end of this week, so hopefully it'll be in the 60s and 70s and not in the 90s or 100s.
That sounds much better.
Yeah. Still warm, but not bad.
Yeah.
Kind of made me miss Iceland a little bit, where it was snowing in the middle of July, or at the end of July.
Oh, that would be strange to see, but I mean, I guess they're used to it over there.
It was nice, I have to admit. Anyway. That's my news.
Okay, well, with that, just switch this.